Okay, the issue there is how do you think? Do you think in terms of words or in text and words, or do you think in terms of images? And so the scientific research shows that only about 1% of the people think totally in images. And
but
only 1%.
I don't see how you can separate. Whenever I try to learn a new word or think about a word, I'm always trying to get an image about what I can.
Well,
I don't say I can
the other
them
point is that about 25% think only in terms of text, and everybody else thinks in terms of both.
Yeah.
So,
but what it is a spectrum though, that's slided toward words or text.
And colors too, maybe.
Well, but the colors, it's heavily more weighted, and probably language is the culprit in there, because language is words, right? Language isn't, I mean, you can conjure up images, but when you talk, like we're talking right now, they're words. It's flat out words, and so those are words or text, or whether it's written, and the other thing is written. Written. A lot of the stuff's written. And so the human thinking has been heavily biased toward text and words. The pieces that I saw were saying that in Holland, and I want to say Germany too, they're the only countries in the world that were looking at studying that. And Americans, there was no university looking at it. And you would think something as fundamental as that would be really foremost in terms of, that's step one in cognition. How do you think? Words are images. And if only the fact, for instance, if you thought 90% of what you would think would be words and 10% would be images, which is probably where most people fall, somewhere in there with those percentages, wouldn't it make sense to try to teach people to think in terms of images? Because what you could do is expand mental capacity.
No, well, honestly, I wouldn't even carry on a conversation without using images. I mean,
but you see, it's 90% words. I mean, they can be converted to images. But so, for instance, in schools, if they teach, you teach language and you teach words, it's drilled and drilled and drilled and drilled. But wouldn't it be possible? And the Dutch were looking at it. Imagine, and what if you could improve cognitive abilities and AKA intelligence by 10%. I mean, it would give the country an advantage over every other country.
Sure.
It would give a huge competitive advantage because
just by teaching
the ability to think in images. Yep. Right. Now, I learned it, oddly enough, in terms of business when I was doing business. But I can't say, an artist may be thinking in terms of images more. But I really didn't think, more. I remember thinking in terms of images more with business and business models. And so you learn how to do that, and that's a skill you pick up if you do enough of it. You begin to pick it up. You begin to see the images. But so what if the country that picks it up, and it could be a country like Mexico, or it could be the Philippines or some other country, they would get a cognitive edge simply by doing it, and a country like the U.S. would be left behind.
My goodness.
Because the teachers' union would be against it, or the tenured professors would be against it, or Harvard University would be against it, or it wouldn't be proven science or whatever, But the only countries apparently looking into it are some European countries.
European.
Yeah.
Part of that's probably too the culture of economic productivity, and just the idea is the highest good is producing X number of vehicles or goods or whatever, and not about
it's
as bigger picture.
I think that the truth of the matter is it's not a matter of 200 years ago it was the one with the biggest cannons, and then 100 years ago it was the one with the most guns, and then it became the country with the most money, and then with the most knowledge, and all that's resources, the most oil, and all that's kind of faded now. What it's coming down to is a country with the most, that exploits the human resources the most, because that's what's left. There's only so many natural resources you can exploit, and then when they're gone, and so it's evolving to that right now. So if a country like China were to get it right, they would dominate everything. But they're obviously not doing that. They're a long way from doing that.
They're not very creative.
Well, they're not, and they're very authoritarian, so, and they're very,
And their culture
even
is
the
like,
Chinese Americans, the ones that are, they're, kids are growing up all stressed out and everything. But, it's interesting to think about. And, what would happen if you all of a sudden took all the children in a country and they were really able to develop their potential, unlike the United States is doing right now. That's certainly not happening here. What if you really could? And I expect in 200 or 300 years that'll be the case. Countries will. They'll test individuals and they'll look at aptitudes, and there will be, maybe brain scans or whatever. And you won't have, you'll get away from the 30, 40 kids in a classroom memorizing the test, test is on Friday, and that sort of thing. And the colleges will get away from the standard syllabus and papers and exams and midterms and all of that, which is increasingly ineffective, despite Penn State, despite what they're looking at. It's because the ones that are really being able to get beyond that are the ones not necessarily going to college anymore. It's not sitting in front of a lecture anymore. All the lectures are online anyway, so you can hear the lecture. It's where's the knowledge, Sort of like you watch a lot of TV, but TV's fundamentally shifting. It's all going online, so you can have it on demand. You can find whatever topic you want and find it. You don't have to wait for the programming to spoon it out to you there. You can go and look for what you want, and if you want to find out about cracking the Maya code, then you can go find the video and pull it up and see it. Stop it, edit it, whatever. Cut it, paste it. You can do all kinds of things with it. So the technology, in a sense, is changing. Is giving, and I don't see why it can't teach things like image. Teach people to think in terms of
images.
symbols and images and colors or whatever, as opposed to words and text. Obviously, then there could be a huge. Imagine if you could increase your mental capacity by 50%, what that would do.
My goodness.
Well, what would that do?
The aim of every country to do?
I don't think it's the aim of the public
have...
schools. That's not the
not
aim.
anymore.
The name of the public schools is to get funding, and to promote the status quo. It's not to create better graduates. It appears that the average graduate today is less knowledgeable than the one 40, 50 years ago. So, why is that? I don't know. It doesn't make sense, does it?
That's a really good question. Why
doesn't make
is
much
it
sense.
that?
Why is that? You'd think that would be a
they
whole lot
have
more,
maybe more money now than before. Maybe that's it.
Or why, if you really want to study and learn technology, you don't go to school. You go to work. You figure it out on your own. You learn it on your own. You don't go learn it in a classroom. So it seems the whole classroom concept is antiquated. It's not the best way to do it. Especially if you can pick a little thing like your iPhone there. I was watching my nephew there. It's a mini computer, the little iPhone there. He can pick. He's there punching up whatever he wants to know. He just punches it up on his phone. He pops right up, on the screen. He can do it. He doesn't need a computer. He uses a little phone.
He doesn't want to go to school anymore.
Doesn't want to go to school. School's boring,
He wants to go to Mexico.
You got to sit. You got to sit in a chair, and
That's in Kansas and coffee.
Yeah. So what he's doing? He told me. He says he's sitting there playing with his phone in class. Because he's probably learning more doing that than and he's a smart kid. He's writing me emails and Facebook messages, and that were literate. And I think, my God, he can write better than a lot of college graduates can.
How old is he?
13.
13?
13, yeah. Oh, yeah. So the country that gets that right and produces, 100 million of those kids is going to just dominate the world. It's going to, you almost wonder if there isn't a conspiracy to suppress people here.
I think that's it.
I wouldn't.
Is Walmart trying to keep people stupid so they can get them to be cashiers or, stock shelves? And
and to keep buying and buying.
Yeah.
Well, and you keep buying, and you know.
Yeah.
Well, I think maybe that you